Hey guys, welcome back to Robu. Hope you guys are doing well, staying safe, and today in this video we're going to talk about how to select the perfect motor for your quadcopter or your drone. So this video is going to be a step-by-step of what things you have to keep in mind while selecting the perfect motor for your drone. So stay tuned. So to select the perfect motor for your drone, you have to first know the entire weight of your drone. So the first thing that you can do about this process, the way you can go about this, is first you can select the correct frame for your drone. Multiple frames that you can select from. So just go about and select the frame of your drone first. And according to the frame, you can select the propellers. Also, if you don't know how to go about selecting the right components for your drone and how to make it, you can check out our video. We made it right here. Select the perfect components for your drone. Check that video and come back here, and then we can talk about how to select the perfect motor for your drone. So now that you have selected your frame, you now sort of know, have an idea about how to select and what type of propellers you need for your drone. So if you have the right size of propellers, then you can go about the motor and what thrust that motor should have in order to lift off the drone. So according to the weight of your drone and the size of the propeller, you can select a motor which has the perfect lifting thrust and the flying speed for your drone. So now what are the steps? How do you go ahead and what do you have to keep in mind while selecting the perfect motor? The first thing that you have to keep in mind is thrust to weight ratio. In all type of multirotors, it is important that the motor that you select produces 50% more thrust than the overall weight of your drone. So if the thrust that the motor produces is less than the weight of the drone, it's not going to be stable and it's not going to lift off in some cases. So make sure that the motor that you select has 50% more thrust than the overall weight of your drone. For example, if I have a drone which has a weight of 1 kilogram, it is better to have a motor which produces a thrust of 2 kilograms or 500 grams for all the 4 propellers in the case of a quadcopter. So make sure that the motor has more thrust than the overall weight of your drone. The second thing that you have to keep in mind is the kV rating of your motor. The kV rating means the RPM that the motor produces per volt. So for example, if you have a motor which has 1000 kV and if you connect a 12 volt LiPo battery to it, the RPM that it is going to produce is 1000 into 12, that is 12,000 RPM. So after mounting the propellers onto the drone, the RPM decreases because of air resistance and other external factors. So the higher kV motors produce more RPM and also draw more current. So if you see, large drones usually have big propellers but with lower kV motors, and the small drones have small propellers but with higher kV motors. So choose your motor according to the drone size and everything that you are going to build, and keep that in mind. The higher kV motors are better for if you are building a small drone, and lower kV motors for big drones as it draws more current. The third thing that you have to keep in mind is the motor size. Generally, if you see brushless motors, they are represented by 4-digit number. So what does this 4-digit number mean? For example, if I have a motor which is represented by 2205. So what does this 2205 means is that the first 2 digits that you see, that is 2 and 2, are the diameter of the stator in millimeter, and the last 2 digits that you see, that is 05, is the height of the stator in millimeter. So the taller and wider the motor is, the more torque it's going to produce. So the taller the stator, the more power it's going to produce at higher RPM, and the wider the stator, the more torque it's going to produce at lower RPM. So keep that in mind. Motor size, very important. The next step. So the fourth thing is, you might ask a question, what is the N and P in motors? Sometimes if you see brushless motors have something like N and P. So basically these N and P represent the magnets inside of the motor. For example, if you have a motor which has 12N and 14P, so the number before N, that is 12 in this case, represents the number of electromagnets inside the stator, and the number before P, that is 14 in this case, represent the number of permanent magnets in the bell. So the fifth thing that you have to keep in mind is the voltage and the current draw. The voltage of the battery has a large impact on the motor, so keep that in mind. The drone motor spins faster when there is a higher voltage and it draws more current. So you need to make sure how much thrust the motor produces and how much current it will draw. So keep these things in mind. Higher the voltage, the more current it's going to draw, and also the thrust that the motor produces, because that much current the motor is going to draw. The sixth and final thing that you have to keep in mind is the motor movements. Now, if you install motors of all the same movements, it's going to be tough for the drone to fly because all the motors are moving in the same direction, and for you to control as well, it's going to be very tough. So the thing that you have to do is make sure that if you have a quadcopter, for example, make sure that you install 2 clockwise motors and 2 anti-clockwise motors, so that they're moving in opposite direction and it's easier for you to control from your end too. So if you want to know what type of motor movements you have to have for your type of drone, here's a list of a number of drones, so you can check that out. And that was it. Hope this video helped you understand the process of how to go about selecting the perfect motor for your drone. And if you want a more detailed overview on the same thing, you can check out a blog. The link is down in the description. Check that blog out. You'll get a more detailed view on how to go about it. And if you like the video, leave this a like, share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, because we're coming up with a lot more content on our channel. So subscribe for that. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.